the first time feeling like, holy fuck. Like
Yeah.
it was, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Horseshoe Tavern. It's
Definitely, yeah.
okay. So it's a very important rock club in Toronto. It's small, 250 cap or something like that. But the Rolling Stones would play warm-up gigs there. It's the most famous venue in Toronto. And we had played there a bunch of times in front of nobody, 5, 10 people, getting gigs here and there. And actually, the first time we played there felt like a big deal, even though there was probably just our families.
Yeah.
And
your dad yelling at you, got this, Johnny.
Yeah, way to go.
Yeah.
Make sure you go to college.
Johnny, I want to start first off by saying, like, you started this band, I believe, in '93. Now, it wasn't under Billy Talent. I was probably 2 years old, but was it Pez that was named?
Yeah, Pez with 2 Z's.
Okay, so was this like, I'm a wrestling fan as well. So like when someone says about the Zeds, it's like the Hardy Boys had a Zed, the Dudley Boys had a Zed.
Right.
It's like, was it just a common thing back in this time frame where it's like S's are uncool, man?
Well, no, well, Pez. Well, there's the Pez dispensers, right? And I think we were scrambling for band names. We had gone through a couple. The other one was called the Zigzag. We were throwing all these like stupid names out, and I don't know. I believe like somebody had a Pez dispenser around or something like that, and we're like, "What about Pez?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, that's a good name, but we should put 2 Z's because we don't want to get in any trouble." And so that was the genesis of that. You know, we were in high school. So regrettably, we named our band Pez, and that lasted probably about 8 years before we started getting
the irony, right? The irony.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna put it with 2 Z's. There's no way. There's no way we can get in trouble with this. And the next minute, an American band says to you,
"No ideas." Yeah, no ideas. Original.
Yeah. Although I will say, like when I looked up the history and seen that it was called Pez, it's like, okay, interesting. But then like going from the name Billy Talent, I was just like, I love it that it says it even in Wikipedia. That's like, even their fans are confused because they thought that the lead singer's name was Billy Talent. And I was like, dude, I've been on this earth for like 30 something years. And like, yeah, I know the guy's name is Benjamin, but I was even kind of like, wait, so who is Billy and where is his talent? Like, did he just like, was there a guy named Billy in this? Like,
no, that's fair.
But even in saying that, it's like when I see that it's Benjamin, I'm like, man, Breaking Benjamin. But I'm like, oh wait, they couldn't be called that either because that's another band. But I was just like, you could have claimed that.
But yeah, we could add lots of choices actually. And Billy Talent was Ben's idea. He tabled that when we were trying to find a name change, and we just liked it. We liked the story of Hardcore logo and where it came from, and you know the kind of the cockiness behind the name. And we did realize that he was going to get confused with Billy. It still happens all the time. Where's Billy? I love Billy. So you know, it's the burden that he has to carry on his back, and you know, it's pretty funny.
I'm pretty sure, like, I will say this much, at its peak, like, I know when they had like Sum 41, Simple Plan, Avril Lavigne, like all these kind of like punk rock kind of, I guess to some extent now, like there's a generation that would call it like emo punk. I don't know, genres just crisscross all over the place. But I remember like watching Much Music and you'd see like Surrender come on, and I'm like, what, 10, 11? And like now being older, I can relate to that song a lot more. But
right.
10 or 11, I'm just like, man, you guys sound so sad. Like, but like, I guess it's a big deal because Canada's music scene at a point where they had Much Music, it was like a real, like, you'd be proud to go out and have your iPod or something and be like, yeah, man, I'm listening to Billy Talent. Like, I was playing like an NHL 06 game with my nephew the other day, and like, shows you my age because he was like, what the fuck is NHL 06? I was just like, come here, we're gonna sit down and play this whole game. And like the first song that comes on, I believe, is like, I think it's like Red Flags.
Yeah, it is Red Flag. Like,
I love the song. And then I went and I checked my iPhone because it's been a while since I uploaded stuff, and I've seen like 2 or 3. So then I re-downloaded that song. But he was like, this is a cool song. Can you play this? And I'm like, cool, I'm introducing a younger generation.
That's great, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. But tell me a little bit about like the hype of, I guess, when you first got your record deal, the first album, and like the success. Because I guess like being Canadian at some points has its kind of like I guess asterisks where it's like, oh, they're just a Canadian band. Like, yeah, we know them in Canada, but then to get worldwide famous, it has to be a big deal. Like, tell me the whole high of it.
You know, it's amazing because it's really hard to sit back and reflect on it, and enjoy it, because we're always trying to keep it going. But you know, it was pretty wild thinking about it, back at it, and today is like somewhere around this week is the 20th anniversary of that first record coming out. And it happened really fast. Like, we were an independent band for, almost 10 years. And, well, it was 10 years before that album came out. And we had released a couple of tapes, a full-length CD. And then when we changed the name, we released an EP as Billy Talent.
Yeah.
And that EP ended up, catching a lot of momentum in the city. And we always kind of had a little bit of confidence in our band. We thought we were a cool band. We really felt like we were different than everybody else. And in my heart, I always knew that if we were able to get our foot in the door, nobody would be able to close it. And so, it happened in a great way because we worked really hard at it. And there was ups and downs and almost a breakup and all this stuff in that first 10 years. And then when we were actually getting an opportunity, everybody was just like laser focused on making sure that it was going to work out. So, we ended up signing a publishing deal and then getting a record deal and working on the songs for that new record. At the time, Ian, he was on unemployment. He was an animator, and his contract expired, and he didn't like animation, and he just took the chance to go on unemployment and write songs and to do this new, to really take a stab at actually, this is even before we got some buzz, to take a stab at like, let's do this band thing again, like really hardcore. And so he must have been hitting like some sort of songwriting confidence, ignorance, also like just coming up with really unique ideas. And the guy's a savant. He always has been. And then Ben too is, those two guys always were the drivers of the band right from the beginning. They were the ones that were, we can do this, and I'm going to put all my energy into this, and this is it. Like, I don't care about anything else. Aaron and I both had backup plans. We were like, okay, yeah, we're good musicians and we want to be in too, but we both had good jobs and things like that. And so it was those two guys really, really pushing it at the beginning and writing great songs, and we would rehearse, and everybody was, involved. And then once we got that foot in the door and got some interest in the business side of things, it really kind of, there was just a laser focus between the four of us all at once. And it's a powerful thing when you got a team together and everybody is on that same page and giving it their 100%, with all the common goals and the same type of work ethic. So we started writing those songs and jamming a lot. We were working with Gavin Brown, who really kind of helped us identify what was really strong about our band. He'd listen to our demos and our songs and say, this part's going on for too long. Yeah. You don't need that part. Like, these lyrics are kind of good. You could do better. And he really helped us like kind of identify what was really strong about our band and where to focus. And we were coming up with our own like unique ways of delivering our punk rock. And it just was a really magical, lucky moment. So, it was all kind of, that part of was just working really good. And then we got lucky. And then once you're inside the Canadian music industry, becomes quite small. And the people that were, in positions of power, like agents and lawyers and record people, once they got kind of on board, that really helped push us over the edge too, because now we're getting support by people who matter.
Yeah.
So we got a great agent that we're still with. Our lawyer, we're still with his firm. He's gone on to he's running like big companies now, but it's still his firm, and we're working with like our day-to-day lawyers, a different type of person, and we're still with Warner. So when we had that stuff going for us, it's like it was a powerful machine. And then we got some great tours, and really, you can only go so far without fans. And we got a couple of great tours early. One of them, the most important one, was opening for Sum 41 when they were releasing their second record.
Okay.
We did a cross Canada tour with them, and we were getting put in front of 3,000 kids every night that were just primed to be fans of our band. Like, and every single one of them, it seemed like, really liked the opening band.
Yeah.
And the record came out, and it did, like, right away. It started like doing really well. It did pretty decently in the States. We ended up signing a US record deal with Warner as a part of it. And then with that, all the affiliated labels around the world, they have their fucking conference. Back then, they have their music conferences, and the American label, like, these are the artists we're putting out. If you want to put them out, they're available. And Germany just loved the record, so they started bringing us over there. It was called East West at the time, and they were affiliated with Warner. And so they released a record in Germany, and we ended up getting hooked up with a promoter out there named Bernie, who works for this company called Scorpio. He's one of the top guys there, and we're still with it. He still promotes our shows, and he put us on great bills, and it just everything worked like the way it would work organically, in just the perfect way. So with our video, we took a lot of pride in our videos, so we made great videos. Much Music loved playing them. MTV in Europe played the shit out of them. And it just, back then, that was kind of the way we connected people. There was no social media, no YouTube even. So, it just worked. It just worked, like, in the right way.
I like the journey that it takes, because, like, with anything in life, when you're trying to come up with something, like, you might have the idea, but it's like, how do you get to this idea? And, like, of course, you mentioned about forming the band back at school, but I like that when I was doing a bit of research, like, you all have different backgrounds and interests, like, that kind of help even create, like, just your demo album. Because when you mentioned about Ian being the animator, I call him, it's like, I remember growing up and watching Angela Anaconda, didn't think it was that bad, and then when I realized that, like, I was like, that's kind of cool, because, like, as an animator, like, I'm looking at it now coming out of school as just say if you're in radio or broadcast and your first gig is being on, like, I don't want to, like, dismiss it, because some people are like, really, you're going to compare that to Angela Anaconda? But it's like a CTV, like, that's kind of like, it's still a nice gig to have. It's like, there are people that are my age that watched Angela Anaconda and thought it was, like, the creepiest shit in the world. But there was someone like myself that would be like, man, Angela Anaconda's on. I know it's probably a weird animated show, but I'm going to watch it. But imagine, like, that's your first kind of, like, break in the door. And then to save your money. And this wasn't even, like, your first option. This was, like, your backup thing that you're like, and I'm good at that. And, like, Benjamin, I think he was on, like, The Edge.
Yeah, he was working in radio, and that was great for us too, because he would meet people. Yeah.
And then that kind of brings you into, like, the I think it's, like, the girl that he was there, I think it was, like, Jen, or, like, that worked there, and then she ended up going to Warner Music.
So Jen Hurst, she is she's the reason. The very first, she was the one that got her foot in the door. She was working for some indie label, I can't remember. And then she was interested in the band. Ben had given her a demo once when she came into The Edge. And when she was applying at Warner as a junior A&R, they asked her what bands that she's interested in. It was part of her interview process, and we were on the top of her list.
Okay.
And then she got that job, and then she really tried to sign us, and she got us a demo deal. So they gave us like 10 grand to go record some professional demos. And then she introduced us to a couple of producers, Ian Blurton, Gavin Brown. And I don't think that those were the ones of significance. And we met with them both, but Gavin was, he was, very convincing that he was the right guy for us. So if it wasn't for Jen, none of this would be. I wouldn't be sitting here with you.
So I mean, this might sound like a boring question to you, but, like, when someone gives you 10 grand and you're just starting off, like, how do you distribute it? Like, how do you know where to go? Like, if someone handed me 10 grand a day and be like, okay,
We just went we went right to no, we went right to Steve's Music and upgraded all of our gear. Okay. We all needed better gear. We needed better gear. We've been playing in a band for 10 years with shit.
Yeah.
So we went and I bought a new bass and a better amp, and same with Ian. We got a PA for our studio. We just spent it on the band. That's been our kind of ethos the entire career. Whenever we get money from a label, we've just pumped it back into the band. Now we have a studio in the East End of Toronto, and it's like kind of our headquarters, and that's where we do our records now. So yeah, it's we've always been smart that way. It's important for whatever you're doing to make it sound as pro as you can. Yeah, like even in this type of environment, I think like unless the content is like incredibly like goes incredibly viral and you just have some sort of like magic that is undeniable, then maybe. And there's indie bands like that sound like shit, but they're like, even the White Stripes, when you listen to the production quality, it's not that good, but the songs are undeniable and it works. Yeah. So there's obviously different formulas here and there, but we're playing like Ibanez's and like these garbage guitars, and so and we wanted nicer gear. So yeah. it was great for us. We were all just poor college kids, like some of them living at home and other guys just like struggling to pay rent. So
when did, like, I know you kind of went through the whole story of like the band and its success, but like when did you like personally think like, okay, we're kind of a big deal, or we're hitting our stride? Because I'll look at some bands and like I'll give you an example of like, for me, I grew up listening to like, say, Backstreet Boys, but like I never really knew when they hit their stride, but because I was too young when I was listening to them, and then by the time I was older, I was like, sure, I was always listening to them. But like with Ed Sheeran, I remember my friend introduced me to Ed Sheeran in Carlton, and like the first song was kind of like, I think it was like "Give Me Love," and I was like, dude, it's not really what I'm into. And then, but like you'd gradually get a few more songs, and you're like, okay, now I kind of like, okay, I like the A-Team, I like this, but like now it's almost like, okay, he's a big deal. But like,
yeah,
when did you?
Is he ever?
Because I feel like in Canada, like it's one thing to be big in Canada, but like to go other places, like I read somewhere like, I think it's like the second album you have with Germany, it's like 2 times platinum. And like, I'm just interested sometimes at like, why? Like, why Germany? Like, why? Like, you know, sometimes it could be like, yeah, China thought you were big, and you're just like, what? Like, what made us?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of stepping stones along the way. Like I remember the first time feeling like, holy fuck! Like it was. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Horseshoe Tavern. It's
definitely, yeah.
Okay, so it's a very important rock club in Toronto. It's small, 250 cap or something like that, but the Rolling Stones would play warm-up gigs there. It's the most famous venue in Toronto. And we had played there a bunch of times in front of nobody, 5-10 people, getting gigs here and there. And actually, the first time we played there felt like a big deal, even though there was probably just our families.
Yeah.
And
your dad yelling at you, "You got this, Johnny."
Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah.
Make sure you go to college. Yeah. Anyway, we got a gig there one night, and it was after our demo had been out, and we had signed our publishing deal and made a couple of songs, and there was a buzz, and there was just a buzz, and we were playing like Canadian Music Week and North by Northeast, and we were getting really great like reviews. Back then they would do report cards for the bands, and we were getting the highest scores and all this shit. But anyway, we played a gig at the Horseshoe, and the lineup was way the fuck down Queen Street, and we're walking in, we're like, who the fuck, who's like, what's going on here? And then we realized it was that lineup was for us, and that was just that was like an extremely satisfying moment. Couldn't believe it. Like you couldn't imagine that feeling, like, holy shit, it's not our family, these are strangers. And they're lining up. It's like wild.
Or someone's family member has a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah. and then after that, you know, we got the record deal and stuff, and videos go on Much Music and things, and we have that tour with Sum 41, and there's all these other things that are happening. And then it just was kind of like a very like fast climb to having #1 songs on the radio and #1 videos, I think, like, and then winning MTV or Much Music Video Awards and Junos and on that first record, new group of the year and all that stuff. And it was like, it was hitting us. It was coming super fast, all this success, but it was really like hard to process. You're just in the moment. And then in terms of Germany, like we went over there on the first record and did some tours, and it was so much fun. And just near the tail end of that record, we did a tour with this band called the Beatsteaks, and they're just an incredible German punk rock band. And you know, it was at our promoter guy. We were going to cancel the show because we couldn't afford to go over, and he's like, "You cannot not do this tour. You have to come." And he figured out a way to get us a little bit more money so we could fly over. He drove the van, and we did that tour. And that was the same type of thing with the Sum 41 tour. It's just we got put in front of all these kids that were primed to see us. So it was a great tour. We go home. We're done touring after long, like 18 months, 2 years or something like that. And we start working on the next record. And that's when it kind of like, holy fuck, man, that was wild. Like, are we going to be able to do this again? And I really distinctly remember, am I ever going to get back to Germany? Like,
yeah,
that was just the time of my life. And I'm 27 or 28 years old, or getting like older, and fixed personality, understanding what's happening to me and not taking it for granted at all. Like,
yeah,
that was another good thing about having it happen in my late 20s. We all had fixed personalities. We had all been working day jobs and struggling and doing that stuff. So we like, it was really it felt privileged and like unique, and we didn't want that to happen. But I remember thinking like, fuck, if we don't release a great record, it's like, what's going to happen? And being afraid that maybe I would never get to do that again, and I didn't appreciate it enough or whatever, and I would just go on.
Like, do you find like, again, because we're a little bit like the older side of like, I guess the 20s, it's more or less like, because I know I'm only like 32, but I felt like, you know, now I'm looking at perspective of things differently. Like if I was like 20 years old, like I know it's comparing like basically apples to massive oranges, but it's like I was coaching soccer this year, and it's like I don't think if I was 20 years old I'd be like as invested in coaching soccer. I might be there just like fine, I'm coaching, whatever. But like this year when I was coaching, I was like very invested in like making sure the kids had fun. And I feel like I kind of gauged that maybe in like the later 20s of like, I'm realizing like there's a few things on my bucket list that I'd like to just check off to say I've done. But I think in my early 20s, if someone was like, this is what you're actually going to be doing, and you're like, I'd be like, fuck off. Like, I'm not doing that. This doesn't sound like me at all.
I don't think we would have got to the same place if it happened in our early 20s, just because of that perspective. And that, you see that with, or maybe we would have, but we would have been different people, or we wouldn't have appreciated, or we would have became alcoholics, or and that happens, man. And I've seen it happen with bands that were coming up at the same time that were younger than us, and like they didn't know how to process it. You know, where we were just like, this is fucking rad, and I'm not going to screw it up. Like all of us were like that, even though we've always had our good times, and but there was always between the four of us a general focus on making sure that we wanted to be like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Rage Against the Machine, and these bands that had big long careers, and that was that we had our eye on the prize, and we still do. So anyway, when we did release Billy Talent 2, and it came out #1 in a whole bunch of countries, Germany included, and that was a really, really gratifying thing, and that it was also a little bit of validation, like we're on, like this is on, we're going to do it. That has always been kind of a little bit of our band's ethos, is like, just, you know, it's our names on it, and it's going to be there for history. Every performance, everything. Like, we had rehearsal today. We've been touring like mad, and we had 3 weeks off, but we still get together to jam for the week to make sure that we're going to be sharp for our tour, which starts on Wednesday. You know, it's just ethic. And well, I think in general, the people that make it successful, and whether it be music, sports, journalism, anything, they have that ethos of that I want to do it good, and my name's there, and it's a legacy type of issue, you know.
Now, I want to ask you, like, because again, with highs, there's lows, and I mean, some people be like, great intro, Brian, great to like just topple into it, but I want to mention it because I think it is important. Because again, I'm a person with disability. Like I'm open about it, but like you actually have a band member that like Aaron. Now he's battling like MS, but like,
Yeah.
how's Aaron doing through this process?
Well, he's stepped away from playing professionally. His legs just have betrayed him. That's what MS does. It's degenerative. So like he's just not capable of doing what he has done. And it's been terrible and really, really difficult to watch him have to go through this and then watching him deal with it. The dude is the most impressive human I know. It's not only his MS, he's had so many other tragedies that happened to him. He's even had open heart surgery as a pig valve in his heart. And he's an inspiring man. For him, most of it's a mental battle now, of course, a physical battle too. But he's accepted that part but dealing with the anguish of having something you love taken away from you is a challenge for anyone, even the strongest of minds. And I don't know anybody that's stronger of mind. And it's probably another reason why we've achieved what we have, because it's you're gonna make me cry, buddy.
Yeah. The only reason I brought it up was because when I read it, I was just like, you're a part of a band, you're part of a success, and then to see it kind of get taken away from you. But like when I read, like even on tours and stuff, doctors were saying like you could lose your lack of vision. You had to go through like bring a mini fridge on tour at certain points for him. And I'm just like, man, that's it. Because like if someone told me tomorrow, like, Brian, like you got to go on tour, but you got to take this, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm out. And they'd be like, wow, pussy. And I'd be like, yeah, call me that, because I'm done. But
they told him that he wouldn't be able to play drums, and like you might as well just kind of throw that aside. Yeah. And he just said fuck that and released 4 studio albums, toured the world, accomplished incredible things, won Juno Awards. Now he speaks sometimes for the MS Society, and he tries to do a little bit of motivational speaking and things like that. And he's made the best of a bad bargain.
No, that's for sure. Because I think you had a song. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like it was supposed to be dedicated to someone going through the struggle, and then it's like he told fans after.
Yeah, that was this. This is how it goes off the first song on the first record.
Yeah, but I like that. Like, I guess it's again with fans. Like some fans like to know everything, but I like the fact that like in a world now with social media, it's easy to dig up stuff on people. But I just like the fact at the time where it's just like you do have a little bit of privacy, and I do like that if you're a genuine fan, you kind of give them that space. But like, I'm just curious because I guess there are points and times that do you still get like messages of people like asking these questions, like how certain people are in the band, or like?
Well, yeah, and that's actually one of the difficulties that he faces, and one of the reasons why he's stepped back, because when he's out with us, he'll come out on the road every once in a while, but he can't play. And everywhere he turns, every which way, it's somebody's, oh, how you doing? Yeah. And then it just like he has to talk about it all the time, and he's like, "Fuck, man, I don't want to talk about it." He toured for fucking 15 years, and we never brought it up at all. Like I just treated him. I would call him a pussy if he couldn't walk somewhere. Excuse my French; those are old words.
Yeah, absolutely. I said earlier, so I'm partially to blame.
Yeah, because we wouldn't think about it, and he'd be like, sometimes I think back and I think about how much of a fucking idiot I was. But he'd be like, oh, like we would walk to a bar or something that was a couple of kilometers away, and we're all too cheap to take a cab. I'm like, let's just walk back. It's only 45 minutes, like whatever. And he would just do it. And now looking back, it's like his legs were probably killing him. He played a show. We walked 45 minutes to the bar, and now I'm making him walk back. And like, but I think he appreciated the fact that we never, it was just. That's the way it was. And it wasn't until like we were writing Afraid of Heights and we were working on that, and we did some summer shows, and we started to notice that like things were slipping and kick drums were getting missed, and we just brought it up, and he just kind of came clean. He had just hit another stage of struggle, and
Yeah.
And we had to take a break, and he really tried hard to figure it out and take new medicines and change lifestyle and everything like that, but nothing was working. And it got to the point where we didn't know what to do. And that's when he just said, like, I don't want this to stop you guys, and let's figure something out while I work on my body. And that's when our good friend Jordan from Alexis on Fire stepped in, and like he was just
That has to be
incredible.
tough though. That has to be the tough spot for like I'd say him, like, you know, to put himself in of saying like, okay, like it's almost like you're in the room, you know that that's kind of maybe like, you know, you're kind of trying to decide, okay, I want to continue with you, but we got to work on this, and that's a struggle for him. But for him to kind of be like, you know, kind of I know it's an old phrase, but it's like to man up or basically take on the responsibility of like, guys, I don't want to be like bringing you down. Like, I guess I got to eliminate myself from the situation, even though it's going to
Yeah,
hurt me.
man. Yeah, I can't. I still can't imagine what his nights were like when he was thinking about it. You know.
Yeah, but yeah, like I mean, I guess it's like it has to be a hard point to like come to for yourself to make that decision. But I guess the other side of it is like if you continued on and you're kind of like missing spots, I'm sure he'd be like, all right, like I'm getting frustrated, they're getting frustrated, and then eventually that could have like led up to a worse situation.
Yeah,
So,
it just wouldn't have worked. Like
yeah,
his, I don't know if it would ever have gone to that spot. His standard was high. You know, he wanted to
yeah,
be, and all of our standard is high in terms of musicianship and everything like that. So yeah, man, it was that was a dark time for us, and you know, it still sucks.
yeah. I want to, I guess, to kind of to lighten it up or brighten the mood here, but like you mentioned about going on tour, like, do you have like certain places that you have in mind? Is Newfoundland on the list, or is it more or less like, no, we've done Newfoundland, we're not going back there. We got too drunk, and it's not good.
Probably did get too drunk, but
Yeah, yeah,
that would want to get me back. No, it just kind of unfolds on its own. When we got new material out and we're planning a tour, you're kind of a lot of it hinges on the offers that you get
yeah,
and how good our agents, uh, you know, at routing up a tour and figuring out where we should play. And it's their job to look at the fucking statistics and all that stuff and come up with that. You know, we're gonna put on an amazing show. That's our job. We love to hit the world. We love to play. The shows are always good. So, you know, kind of doesn't matter where.
just like wherever they put you, you're just like, all right, we'll just go out there and
We well, we do have a lot of say,
yeah, yeah.
but it's a big team effort.
That's fair. I want to just say like I do appreciate though the fact that you did make the effort like at one point to come to Newfoundland during the high, because it's just a like
You know,
I
it was our last gig before COVID was in Newfoundland. We did two, actually. The second last gig we wrapped up all the Afraid of Heights touring in Newfoundland, and then we did these two random shows opening for this gigantic, huge German band called Die Totenhosen, and then we shut it down. And we said, oh, we've worked so hard for so many years, we're going to take a year off. So we take the year off, and then COVID hits, and so we're off for another 2 years. So we were off 2 years and 11 months to the day between shows in Newfoundland. So the last show was in Newfoundland, and the first show starting back up again was in Newfoundland.
that's when
And
you make the joke of like we've always been around, you just haven't seen us because we've been at the bars.
yeah, and we'll go. We're definitely going to go back. We have got a good relationship with the promoter out there, and the shows are worthwhile for sure. It's in it, like yeah. So we'll be back in Newfoundland, no doubt.
Yeah, because there's going to be like there's definitely a generation like myself of kids that like yeah, we've heard you on like much music, but for me, I think the first taste of Billy Talent was basically through like an NHL game.
Yeah, well, you're not the
And
only
that's
one.
it. Like there are like even to this day, I'll go on my iPhone and there are bands that's like NHL 22, and I'll be like, never heard the band, like the song. Then I'll go through their library and be like, oh, I like this song too. But it's like I don't even know if there's like, because I feel like the NHL games, yes, older people still play them, but like I'm looking at my nephew, he probably just hears the song, and then if I have it in my song or like in my car, he'd be like, NHL, know this song. Like I think there's like Carolina Reaper, and he like
Yeah.
loves that song from the NHL 22. And he's like, "Oh, you got that?" I was like, "Yeah, because I heard it and I liked it too." But then he's like, "Sick song, isn't it?" I'm like, "You're like 10. Like, just settle down."
We got we had one of our songs in the most in a Tony Hawk game, because Tony Hawk he likes our band.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how it connects to people. And I don't know what it is, but we still acquire young fans. You come to our show and it's not just old guys from the generation that was in high school when we came out. Like it's all ages, and it's generational, and it's pretty cool, man.
They're probably like, it's probably like, you know how you get younger fans today? It's someone somewhere along the way uses like a TikTok song.
Yeah,
Like,
that happens, man. It's
like,
a different world, man.
Yeah. Like, I grew up with Simple Plan, so I know they're like whole kind of album and stuff. But like, then when I go on TikTok, my niece came in one time, and it's like a trend of like, "I'm Just a Kid." I think that was the song that they used. And I was just like, man, someone at Simple Plan is loving this right now, because they're like, we're hitting a stride again. Like,
I know those guys are definitely loving
it. Yeah, like there's a younger fan base now, and I'm just like, listen, like, I love the band, but after one point of scrolling through TikToks, I'm like, okay, it's a trend, get it over, like, move on.
We just did some shows with them in Europe, at some festivals, and we toured with them too. They took us through the States, and they're good dudes. And but it was we hadn't seen them in a long time, and we have some young crew people with us and a couple of girls, and they're in their early 20s.
Yeah,
and they were head over heels to see Simple Plan, and they knew every single word, and I found that pretty funny.
Johnny, to kind of wrap it up, I like to have like a fun game here at the end where we call it it's just kind of like random questions. So there's that literally I have no control. It's like a question generator. But again, if it's a question that you're like, screw it, I'm not answering it, you can toss it to me, or you can just basically like F it.
I'm not worried. I've done a lot of interviews.
Okay. All right. So the first random question they have here is, well, this one's actually not that bad, but I think it's kind of weird that it's a random one. But do you remember the first time that you ever felt afraid, like physically afraid of something?
Yeah. I was in actually it was pre the rock climbing club in high school. And my friend's dad was the guy that started the club, but he had taken us rock climbing a few times prior to that, and you have to do the rappelling. So you physically got to launch yourself off the mountain.
Yeah.
And that was just terrifying to try and like step back off of a mountain, even though your mind is telling you
you're safe.
Everything is cool. You're safe. You're in your harness. Everything is good. You've watched 5 people do it already. Something could not get me over the hump, and I remember my dad just like, "Come on, you can do it. You gotta go." And just give me a hard time about it.
Thanks, Dad. That's exactly what I need right now.
I can do it. It's fine. I am my dad's son, so I understand where he's coming from now. I got him back about probably half an hour later, because we had to go into caves, and I wasn't afraid of the cave, but he didn't want to go down, and I'm like, "You just made me rappel." Yeah. So yeah, we were giving each other shit that day, but that is something that stands out on first thought.
What bands did you grow up listening to?
Well, early, like before I got into high school and stuff like that, when I was really making my own choices, I got exposed to a lot of rock and roll through my older sister, and so at the beginning, I remember buying Who's Greatest Hits, Black Sabbath, We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll, David Lee Roth, Crazy from the Heat, like just the EP. And those were the 3 tapes that I had that I listened to a lot. And then grade school, it turned into Guns N' Roses and Metallica. And then high school, it was a lot of the grunge era, like Nirvana, Chili Peppers, Soundgarden, Rage Against the Machine, all those Lollapalooza bands. When I was 18, we got to see all those bands: Tool, Ministry, Primus, the 90s, especially those early 90s alternative bands, Pixies, but classic rock, starting to like get into like experimenting with drugs and stuff like that, like all the psychedelic rock, like Jimi Hendrix and Pink Floyd and all that stuff. It's all there, and it's all in our music. It's all over the place because Ian was very much into the same bands, and same with Ben. Ben and Aaron like got more into hip hop a little later in the '90s. They really appreciated the Tribe Called Quest and you know, all the hip hop that was coming in more so than Ian and I did. But we also loved that kind of stuff too. It's just not as we're guitar players and bass players, so we were drawn to that. Ben's a lyricist. He loved the hip hop, and but Jane's Addiction was his favorite band. So, you know, we were all over the place, and we still are. And I think that's maybe why we're a unique band.
All right, so the last random one they have here. Oh, this one's, I'll call it random, but it's a little bit, I had some input on this. But out of all your band members, which one annoyed you the most? Like, they might not annoy you now, but when you were on touring, they were just kind of like, all right, Jesus, get away from me. I need space.
Ah, man.
They're probably all going to say you.
Maybe. Probably Aaron. You know, Aaron knows how to suck your energy.
Yeah.
We call him an energy sucker. So in terms of annoying, that is kind of that's a specific definition, because that's kind of a fly is annoying, you know, like it's tall, but he could figure out ways to kind of annoy you always in a comedy way for everybody else. But then, like, oh man, it just so many times he would get you going in terms of like just telling you a story or something that was false, and you'd be like into it, like believe, and then you realize like this is bullshit, man. And so that kind of shit. Yeah, he was an energy sucker.
Johnny, I loved having you on. I thought the conversation was really good.
Yeah, man.
What is, I guess, I know because when you mentioned earlier about like the thing about 20 years of Billy Talent, I actually seen that on Instagram, and I was like, I was going to bring it up, but you brought it up yourself. Which is
we approved those posts today, and then because Amazon, they put that thing up on
like an ad
in Dundas Square, which is really rad.
Yeah,
you know, I've received text messages saying, "Oh, I saw your face on Dundas Square today." But Ian had just randomly, he was digging through his photos and he found that other photo. So that was kind of a cool thing. It was the same day.
Yeah. So with all that being said, like 20 years of Billy Talent, like what has been, I guess, the highlight of the 20 years? Because I mean, for me, I think it's like if someone asked me, I'd be like, well, obviously the exposure and like the memories that you have, like certain songs bring you back to certain memories. Like I can listen to Fallen Leaves and remember a time that I used to go up to the cabin, and I think what we call the cabin, people in Ontario probably call it cottage, but it's like I remember like you meet someone new and then you're listening, okay, this is great. And then when you hear like Surrender now, when you get older, you're like, you bring back to that time frame. And I like that with songs. Like there are songs that you remember from your childhood, but they have meaning compared to like songs now. But like, I guess 20 years for you, what's like the biggest highlight for you guys or for you personally?
You know, man, I'm just so proud that we're doing it still, and we really care, and everybody's still on that page of you know, trying to be the best band in the world. Like, you know, that's kind of I can't pinpoint spots because the journey is just filled with so many amazing moments, you know. And it's hard to think of that kind of stuff right out of the blue. You need triggers where, oh, you remember when we did that? You remember? And then it leads to another memory. And, you know, I just love the guys in the band, and I'll always appreciate the ups and downs and the fact that we're like brothers rather than friends. Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. It's just been a wild, just fulfilling ride, and it's not over. We're gonna continue. So
I was gonna clue it up with that by saying it's my honesty, and then people would just be like, "Really? You're gonna end it with a pun?" Like,
That's gonna do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Thanks to Jonathan Gallant for coming on to the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying thank you for listening and good night.